Hi, everybody. Good evening and welcome. I'm going to call this joint meeting of the Nevada City Public Arts Commission and Vibrancy Committee to order. Today is Wednesday, February 7th, 2024, and it is 5:31 p.m. So just a little bit about the procedure for the joint meeting. Since this is a joint meeting and as the commission has not yet selected a chair, I'll lead the meeting this evening. So as to show you how it goes. And as we move through the meeting, Councilmember Klein, staff, and I will call out helpful hints for the commission to consider for future meetings on your own. Sound good? Cool. This is exciting. I like meeting with another group here. This group here.
How do you feel
It's
about
nice.
the gender balance right now
I
compared to
feel
our
great,
council
Adam,
members?
thanks.
Me too.
Yeah, tips the scales back from the council meeting.
Precisely.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Schwartz to read the land acknowledgement, please.
To move this closer. We acknowledge that the Nisenan people are still here among us today, though nearly invisible. We understand that we are on Nisenan land that was never ceded, and the original tribal families have yet to recover from the near genocide of their people. As a resident or visitor in Nisenan land, we support the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe in efforts to stabilize their people as well as their campaign to restore federal recognition.
Thank you so much. And will Commissioner Wilcox Barnes please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Join me, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much, Kathy. All right, now we're going to do a roll call. Madam Deputy City Clerk, roll call for both the commission and the committee members, please.
Okay. Commissioner Clark?
Here.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Here.
Commissioner Wilcox Barnes?
Here.
Commissioner Tuda?
Yeah, all right. Yes, you did.
Okay. Commissioner Harney? Here. And Commissioner Negrete?
Here.
Council member, is he council member Klein here?
Oh, yeah.
No, the vice council member, I think.
No.
Okay. And Mayor Fernandez?
Yes, thank you so much,
All
Gabby.
present.
All right, so first we've got some presentations, which will start with our swearing-in ceremony to our newly appointed Public Arts Commissioners. City Clerk Neil Locke to swear in commissioners. Please join us up here, Neil.
I'll need these. I'll get there. This is a very large group to swear in. I don't know if Kathy swore me in about 3 times, and I now get to swear her in. And some of you I know, and others I don't, but I will shortly. So we'll start with the oath, and if you'll all come up here, and I have your office oath right here, and you'll just, well, we'll get up when you get up here.
You get to be on TV, a different angle.
We're always at a different angle. Yes. Oh, God, I wouldn't want to do 6. Be here for the rest of the evening. Celine? Eliza? Shannon? Oh. And then I have one. So, well, I don't know how to do this. Any ideas, Kathy?
Pardon?
Any ideas? Can we do it this way? Okay.
We just each individually say.
No, we're going to do it all together. As I said, we'll be here all night if you do the, so just read.
Individually together.
So if you raise your right hand and say it after me, or repeat after me, and the first will be I, and then you repeat your names. And then we'll go on, and you can follow me. I. Thank you. Wasn't clear. Do solemnly swear.
Do solemnly swear
That I will support and defend.
that I will support and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United
And the
States,
Constitution of the State of California.
the Constitution of the State of California,
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
That I will bear true faith and allegiance.
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the State of, to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitutions of the State of California.
to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California,
And I take this obligation freely,
that I take this obligation freely,
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you. Congratulations. No, I've signed them all, so they're your copy now. You'll have to sign them, right?
Great.
Excellent. Welcome. You're official now. All right. Let the work begin. We're going to just jump right in and get started with the presentation. Introduction of members, staff, and public participants. Sean, go ahead and take it away to lead the introduction and describe functions of each person.
Awesome. Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my name is Sean Grayson. If you don't know who I am, my head is more lopsided in person than it is on TV, so if you haven't noticed that before. This is a joint meeting of the Public Arts Commission and the Vibrancy Committee for a reason, and we'll get into that and let the committee members share. But since this is your first or inaugural meeting, we just want to share kind of who's who in the zoo and how it might work. It could certainly change over time, and that's okay. But not ignoring the commission, but starting with the folks that won't be sitting next to you on the dais, the appointed commissioners. At meetings, you'll routinely have someone that provides clerking for the meeting. So Gabby Christakis is our deputy city clerk. Normally you'll see her on TV doing our city council meetings. And Donna Wilkins is essentially serves as an assistant city clerk, provides those similar functions, sometimes to council, sometimes to the planning commission. And you'll see her at our customer service desk at the front of City Hall. The role of the clerk is they are the keeper of the record. So they do this on behalf of our elected city clerk, who you all just met, Neil. And so they'll keep the minutes, they'll do the roll call votes, they'll do the roll call at the beginning of the meeting. They post the agendas online and in the box outside, and they keep the timer for public comment, which hopefully in this group will not be as much of a challenge as it sometimes can be at the council or planning commission level, although that's always a possibility. You'll have staff liaisons, one or more, at all of your meetings. So the one you don't want is me. My better half of staff liaison tonight is Lisa McCandless, who's the city planner. She is in charge of the planning commission, the other commission in the city. So I'll let her introduce herself and tell you what she does for that commission and how it'll translate to here.
Hi, welcome. My name's Lisa McCandless. I'm the city planner. I've been working for the city since May of last year. I do land use projects, help people with permitting and development in the city, all sorts of city projects and initiatives that we have going on. And then I also bring projects forth to the Planning Commission, which meets once a month on the third Thursday. If you ever want to come and check it out, see what it's like, I welcome you to. I just wanted to say that I'm here to be a resource for you all. there's going to be sort of a learning curve and getting in the groove of reviewing projects and getting up to speed with sort of understanding our ordinances. So don't think that you have to memorize it all or understand it all perfectly. And if you would like to go over anything, I'm always here, so feel free to reach out. I'd happy to explain things better. And yes, welcome. Thanks for being here.
And then I would, if it's all right with the mayor and Councilmember Klein, this commission is largely was created. A lot of people in the community participated in our vibrancy committee, but the mayor and the council member are the ones that have been on it since its inception. And so hopefully they can share with you just a little bit of how we got here at that level, introduce themselves, and then you can all introduce yourselves to the public, because you're on YouTube and television and Zoom right now. And then if you would like, you can also have the few amount of folks that are in the audience say hi and introduce themselves as well, just so you know who they are and what their intentions might be. And that will wrap up our presentation. We're just trying to get everyone to be able to, look across the aisle and know who everybody is. So, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, both of you. Adam and I, as mayor, one of my duties is I get to pick the who's on which committees. And when the Vibrancy Committee was created, clearly that's Adam and Daniela, right? We're definitely the most vibrant of the bunch.
We have beautiful gray hair instead of no hair.
Yes, we do. We maybe have the grayest of hairs. And our colleagues have, an abundance of other skills, but I think vibrancy belongs to us. Public art was something that Adam and I really, really wanted to undertake just with Nevada City and our history and not having an ordinance. And so to see this happen so quick, largely with the support and the work of staff, is really freaking awesome. I love sitting here with all of these badass women, which is quite a shift from my council meeting. Adam, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, I just having lived here as long as I have, and this community thinks of itself as an artistic community, and to set that in stone is really exciting. And thanks for being part of the initial effort to do so.
Yeah, and it was also really important for us to structure this in a way that felt like Nevada City. And so having stakeholder groups represented, CHIRP and the Nisenan, the Historical Society, the Chamber of Commerce, and also the Arts Council, along with 2 artists at large and a youth commissioner, which we have yet to fill that position, but we are looking at and talking with somebody. Super excited about that. We'd love to hear a little bit about y'all. Tell us if you are which one of those positions you're in. Tell us your name, anything else you'd like to share, how you come to the arts, or at least through that stakeholder group. Shannon, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, sure. Do I press this button or don't
If
touch
it's
it?
lit up, you're good.
Good, we're
Sorry that
good.
you have to share a mic tonight. We have a lot
Oh,
of
it's
people here.
okay. We can share. Hi, good evening. My name's Shannon Harney, and I'm here as an artist in residence and also just a community member and advocate for all things civic participation. My art is largely in the performance space. I'm an actress and a singer. I'm a poet and a recording producer. And I also work for our county's Department of Public Health as a community health analyst. So the intersection of where art and community health meet is something I'm really passionate about, and making spaces and objects that bring people together and fortify connection and inspire belonging is something that's really exciting to me, and happy to work with all of you.
And I'm Celine Negrete. I'm the general manager of the Onyx Theater, which, if you don't know about the Onyx, is this small little art house in downtown Nevada City. I'm serving as a representative from the Nevada City Chamber of Commerce, where I currently serve as the vice president. I've been at the chamber for 6 years, maybe. And I don't really have much more to say other than, the idea that or the truth that film is art is one of the things that I'm always saying out there. So I love the fact that, that will be represented here also.
My name is Kathy Wilcox Barnes. I'm a lifelong resident of Nevada City, and I'm representing the Historical Society. I'm a local historian. I was mayor of the city at the time that we went on the National Register of Historic Places, so I'm here representing that part of our community, the historical background.
And if I may, Kathy, the first female mayor of Nevada City.
Yes, the first female mayor of Nevada City.
Yes, thank you.
Long time ago. We've had some great ones
Just a few
since.
years ago.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mira Clark, and I was chosen as the stakeholder representative for the Nevada City Rancheria Nisenan tribe. I do want to make it very clear that I am not a tribal member and I'm not Nisenan, in case there was any confusion there. I have been an ally and worked with CHIRP and the tribe for about 7 years now, mostly within the arts as CHIRP's Visibility Through Art coordinator, as well as helping to assist the curation and management of Ubaseyu Nisenan Arts and Culture just down the street. And I'm honored that they're placing their trust in me as their representative, and I want to say I don't take that trust lightly. And I intend to be in active communication with them through their tribal spokesperson, Shelley Covert, so I can do the best possible job in representing their wishes here. I also am a lifelong resident of Nevada County and a visual artist myself. And as such, I've had the great privilege of watching our arts community grow and change over the years. And so I'm grateful to help advocate for public art here in our wonderful community. Thank you.
I'm Nakaya Schwartz. I also am a lifelong resident. It's so fun to see how many people are from here. I have been involved in lots of downtown projects over the years, and I'm a designer. Yeah, I'm not sure how I got here. Am I one of the artists at large? Okay, I'm one of the artists at large.
How did you get here?
How did I get here? Yeah, and I'm just excited to be here. I shouldn't say this part because it's embarrassing. I was on Planning Commission for a minute, and I was not very good at it. But what it made me want to do was something like this. So, no offense to planning commissioners. It's a big job and an important job, and I really appreciate it, but it wasn't my cup of tea. But I'm really excited about this. It feels like a fun way to work within parameters and do something different for town.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I don't need to press it, do I? Hello, everyone. I am Eliza Tudor, Executive Director at Nevada County Arts Council. I am not a lifelong resident of Nevada County. I am an incredible gatecrasher, and I love it here. And my 3 children were born here. Our offices for the Arts Council are in downtown Nevada City. I'm very fortunate to serve the Board of Directors for Californians for the Arts and California Arts Advocates. So that makes me a great big advocate of the arts. And just a gentle reminder that we, along with the cities of Grass Valley and Nevada City and the town of Truckee, and all our chambers of commerce helped guide the application and then reapplication for designation and redesignation of all 3 of our incorporated communities as state-designated cultural districts, which is really great. And Adam and Daniela, you were great in making sure that that language about Nevada City being a partner in the cultural district is incredibly symbolic to me personally, and it should be to all of us. There are only 14 of us cultural districts across the state, so that gives us an unparalleled opportunity to use public art in the most profound ways locally. So it's an honor to serve and to be with you all.
Well, how exciting. That's our commission. I'd love for folks in the audience to just kind of, if quick introductions, love to know who you are, how you're affiliated, why you're here. Thanks for being here. We can start over here.
I'm Gianna Arbex, and I'm an executive assistant to Eliza at the Nevada County Arts Council. And I'm here to be a part of it and get involved. I'm Heather Heckler. I work at the Nevada County Arts Council as the Grass Valley Nevada City Cultural District Program Manager. I'm new to the job, so I'm looking forward to working with all of you and just here excited about this commission and here to support. Thank you so much.
Yay.
I'm Karen Kaufman. I have lived in Nevada City for 20 years now, and I'm a landscape architect. And I feel like that puts me in a position to tie in well with public art.
Sweet.
Thanks. I'm very excited about this.
Thank you.
I'm Sarah Coleman. I'm a local artist and also very excited about this commission and 100% here to support with any of my own knowledge and experience in making public art. And yeah, yay for all of us. Good job, guys.
Yay.
I'm John Paul. I'm here representing the 49er Breakfast Rotary Club of Nevada City. I've been a member of that club for 26 years, and we are, I believe we're on your agenda tonight. We have a proposal to do a competition for artists for public art within Nevada City, and we're excited about doing that. So.
I'm Stephanie Ortiz. I'm John's sidekick. I'm also a Rotary.
Awesome. Thank you all for being here. Great. This is our commission. Let's get started. We're just going to launch right into public comment. The Brown Act, which we will discuss later on in the agenda, requires that there be an opportunity for public comment for items not on the agenda at all regular meetings of the commission. Public comment is also required on all agenda items at all regular and special meetings. All public comment is limited to 3 minutes. As you can see here, the timer is right up on the table. And whoever is clerking the meeting, whether it's Gabby or Donna, will administer the timer which you see in front of you. Again, yes, I'm speaking on script and off script. Speakers must comply with rules of decorum as adopted by the City Council, and those are published in the room over here and at the podium. This portion of the agenda is for public comment not on the agenda, and we read the following script to the public so they know what to expect. And the script goes like this. Government Code Section 54954.3 provides that any member of the public may address the Public Arts Commission on matters not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the commission or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The commission cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on a future agenda. Please note the comments from the public will also be taken on the consent calendar and each agenda item at the time it is heard. And then I have here on my script, which I think you guys don't have, a warning for removal, which we've potentially needed during council meetings, so I'm going to go over that. I don't think that's needed here. All right, is there any public comment not on the agenda in the room? All right, and what about online, Gabby?
If you would like to speak to items not on the agenda, please raise your hand. There is not, Madam Mayor.
Great. All right, so we're going to move right on to the consent agenda. So the consent agenda is to provide information to the commission and the public on matters that are subject to the commission's work, but that are not controversial or either consistent with previous actions or are simply recording information. So minutes from your previous meetings will be on the consent agenda, as will what we call receive and file items. The minutes from the December 14th, 2023 City Council meeting on your consent agenda tonight, because those minutes include the appointment of the 6 commissioners here tonight. Adopting the consent calendar will receive and file those appointments at the commission level. So at future meetings, the chair will follow a process like the following for the consent calendar. It will look like this. All items listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. Before we take action on the consent calendar, we will hear any public comment on consent calendar items, only including any requests to consent calendar items only, including any requests to pull consent items. Do we have any public comment on consent items in the room or online?
We do not, Madam Mayor.
Great. And so from a commissioner, I am looking for a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent calendar.
Great, and do I have a second?
I'll second that we approve the consent calendar.
Excellent. So we have a motion by Kathy Wilcox Barnes and a second by Celine Negrete. Madam Deputy City Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Harney?
Yes.
Commissioner Negrete?
Yes.
Commissioner Wilcox Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuda?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that'll just be a vote to approve the consent agenda.
It's all downhill from here.
Yes, absolutely. All right, so we're going on to agenda item number 1. Oh, no, just kidding. Consent items forwarded. All right. Now we're moving on to business, which is item number 2. Consideration of a presentation on the city's public art ordinance and the role of Public Arts Commission under the City of Nevada City Municipal Code. So, Adam, would you like, we kind of covered this a little bit, how we got here. Anything else you want to say?
About the process that got us here?
Sure.
How many vibrancy meetings do you suppose we held before we actually got the ordinance? 7. So some of you showed up for some of those meetings. A lot of people showed up at the beginning. And we got a lot of input from a lot of people. And we looked at what worked elsewhere. Was San Luis Obispo a big part of it? They had an ordinance we admired, and we incorporated a lot of that, which made sense. We are, after all, Nevada City, so it's still very much ours.
We also always look to our rich Auntie Truckee.
She has wisdom and money. And yeah, it's extremely exciting. That's what I've got.
Sweet.
And vibrant.
And vibrant. Yeah, do you want to talk about the number of applications we got and how, yeah, do you want to talk about that?
Specifically to talk about the number.
Sure.
What number was it, Sean?
Of applications for
Yeah.
Not specifically the number, just, I can speak to it.
Go for it.
Sure. I think Adam and I were both really overwhelmed at the number of applications for commissioners we got. Super surprised, thought we were going to have to beg folks to participate, which is sometimes the case at the city level. And so we invited everybody who wasn't chosen to be on the commission to be subject matter experts. Sarah Coleman obviously has a lot of expertise in public art and painting and murals. And there are other people that we hope come and join. There are certainly other artists in the room that can kind of consult and be not necessarily a voting member, but people that we can look to kind of, if we have any questions or concerns or queries, if you will. Yeah, that's all I got to say. Sean, you want to take over the rest?
Sure. So this probably seems very bureaucratic to all of you. It's because it is. I'm not an artist. I think at least 6 of my kids are artists, which they'll probably hold over my head forever. But you know, the way that government works is
I'm sorry, do you play saxophone?
I do play saxophone.
You're an artist.
Got it. Just
Welcome.
I own a tenor and a baritone saxophone.
2. All right, just making a point.
I just heard Heather laugh. Heather's my class in Nevada Union. Adam is a year behind me, same year as my wife. Speaking of being from here for a long time. You know, the process of government, though, is important in this regard. Nevada City's always been a community of artists. Yes, always, like 10,000 plus years ago till now. But we've never had an arts ordinance of any kind. So the reason why it's important is because it allows a process for art to come to fruition in a number of forms and for it to be the right art for Nevada City. Because some art pieces will look wonderful in downtown San Jose and not look wonderful here, and vice versa. So it's the process that got us here is really important. It's really made up of 3 pieces. The first is the public art ordinance, which has two pieces, and the public arts ordinance compels all new non-residential construction, with some exceptions, to install pieces of public art as part of their project. Instead of doing that, they could pay money into a fund, which would come to all of you to put public art in place. The other piece is the allowance that existing locations, existing developments could also do the same thing as what would be required of new developments, and the rules that go along with that. So those, even though we call it public art, it's really public art on private property is what the public art ordinance is for all intents and purposes. The council also adopted a public art policy. The public art policy is really public art in public places. And that's really the purview of the city council, although they're going to utilize this commission to help guide those discussions wherever possible, because the council likes to make the best decision possible, and more information is always better towards making good decisions. So that's the second piece. And the third piece is the ordinance that creates this commission. Just like our planning commission is created by ordinance, the public arts commission is created by ordinance. And you have specific roles within in the city, and the ordinance that created this commission outlines those what they call functions. And the first function is that you'll serve as the art review authority under the public art ordinance. So that public art ordinance that I said is really public art on private property. If someone were to submit an application, and someone at the dais might be submitting one in the relatively near future for a mural, if somebody submits one of those, it will, first there'll be a discussion with staff and a pre-consultation meeting, and then there's a whole bunch of things that have to be submitted as part of an application. It sounds bad, but it's not actually that daunting. It's just kind of marched out on what they need to be. Lisa will take all of that, and then when it's ready for all of you, it'll be announced. All the information will be made available to you when we post the agenda, and then Lisa will help walk you through the process of evaluating that project consistent with what the public arts ordinance says needs to be evaluated. So that is your role as the art review authority. Prior to the seating of the commission, that was the vibrancy committee's job, and they did it well. All 172, 0 projects that we got through. So we didn't have enough time to get projects through them because we got all of you so quickly. Besides that role, there are many other functions that are in the municipal code for all of you. Well, I shouldn't say many other. There's 5 other. And so they are advise the city council and the city manager on all matters affecting arts in the city. So you will commonly have things that will come before you that are questions or input or thoughts from the council or from me or staff. Advise and assist private property owners who desire such advice and assistance regarding the selection and installation of artwork to be located on their private property in public view. So there might be people that say, hey, I really think I want to do a statue, but I don't know, and I don't know much about it, and I'm not really ready to submit anything to Lisa yet, but I'd like some advice. So this body can be that advice. That would also carry to residential property art installation where there is not a requirement or a prohibition in certain parts of town relative to residential, but it would certainly be nice if folks were thinking about putting something in if they got some public consultation, especially if they're thinking about putting in. I always use the example of, as you're driving down Interstate 80, there's this giant steel monolith rose in Roseville, which is a cool piece of art, but you couldn't ever put that in Nevada City. It just would be wrong, right? So hopefully someone wanted to put that in their front yard. They'd come and talk to you first, and you give them better ideas. And then the next thing is you could be requested to advise the city council, other commissions regarding beauty and culture in the city. Where I could see that coming in is, let's say we do another project like Commercial Street at some point. And you're gonna have landscape in there, and you're gonna have maybe some art features and some bollards, and that's not clearly in the public art ordinance, and it's not clearly in any other place, but the council will definitely want your input on what that is, and the planning commission's input on what that will be. So they'll ask for those kind of things. liaise, I love that word, there's two I's in it, with internal and external stakeholders to facilitate communication, cooperation, blah, blah, blah. All of you do that already. That's, I'm sure why you were selected or requested to be appointed to this. And so we seek to leverage that. You sit on other boards, you do work in this space already. So engaging in what you already do and bringing that to the table here, and then taking what you do at the table here back to where you do your normal work will, bring synergy to the process of art in our community. So we definitely look forward to that. And then conduct hearings on items related to art upon referral to the city council. So basically, or me, basically that is, we could throw something on the agenda and say, hey, what do you think about this? And that's kind of the catch-all for what you may do. So you won't be doing all of it all at the same time. You're not going to have 4-hour meetings as a general rule. We limit meetings to 2.5 hours for the council, and I would expect that the commission will set their own timing, but you probably will want to do something like that as well. There might be times when you say, next meeting's only going to be an hour and a half, because we just don't have time. Or we're going to have a special meeting and do a 6-hour marathon meeting. Sean, can you go get us lunch? And the answer will be yes, because I have a Cal card and Lisa will run the meeting. But there's a variety of actions that will be before you. I don't know where they will go. I'm excited to see how it will be, but some of the things we know about already are the nameplates that you have in front of you, the cards that normally look like these. Since Kathy was the mayor, right?
And they've got the glue attached.
Nothing wrong with them, but they're not very Nevada City. We didn't order ones for you on purpose because the Public Arts Commission would look really silly to have this hunk of not from Nevada City wood and plastic on there. So that will be coming before you at some point for your input, suggestions on how we can locally curate cool artistic name plates for this commission and maybe the Planning Commission and the council as well. But the 49er Rotary, Breakfast Rotary art competition that you hear about later in your agenda is certainly going to be before you. The mayor and I met with Supervisor Hall, District 1 Supervisor, and county staff relatively recently. They are exploring an opportunity in the city to place a mural on a county-owned building. That hasn't been fully vetted yet, but when it does, it will come to this body for input on the process, and then ultimately a review of the art. I personally am excited about that one, because if they choose the building we're talking about, it's just ugly and gray anyway. But
So
two, it would just, it would, and I know that they'll do it right. I don't believe the board would be interested in doing something that was not right for Nevada City or created controversy. So sometimes threading that needle can be difficult, and I know that they'll appreciate the input of all of you. We will be looking to do a tribute to the Atlas cedar tree that came down at the top of Broad Street, West Broad, and Bennett Street. Sale, one of the classes at Sale is going to adopt that little sliver of land, we call it there, where the tree once was, to maintain it. And then we're going to be working with an art class there to do a tribute piece. I have ideas on that, but like I said, I'm not an artist, I'm a saxophonist. But that will be a temporary art piece as a tribute to the tree. That will come before you, and then probably future iterations of what a tribute art piece might be on that site. And then direction from the city council and recommendations from all of you to the city council. I would anticipate in the next couple of months that something will come down from the council asking you to work on things, and that you will probably collectively come up with things that you'll ask the council to decide if you should be working on those things. An example would be many public arts commissions are formed to create a public arts master plan. Well, we're 2.19 square miles. I don't know that necessarily, and most of that's residential, that we'll end up with a public arts master plan, but we certainly could use a little bit of guidance and curation as to where art might go, what types of art might best fit in certain areas. And so that kind of exploration of what what'd you say, our rich aunt?
Yeah, rich auntie, yeah.
In Truckee might have already done would be great here, and obviously leveraging the work that you already do, because the Historical Society will have a perspective on, what that means in the different places, and the Arts Council already operates in that space, and, say I was right here in downtown, and so we'll definitely look to leverage that. So that's just an overview of the public arts ordinance, the public arts policy, and the ordinance that enabled the formation of this commission. As things come through you, we don't expect you to remember anything I just said, and we don't expect you to read the ordinance, the municipal code at any given time. So as we bring projects forward, you'll get a staff report with a presentation. They'll tell you which function you're under, and if it's something where you need to approve something or make a finding, Lisa will walk you through that. If you want to approve this, you'll need to make these findings. If you don't want to approve it, it would have to be because of this reason. So in other words, just because I don't like it is not a reason for this commission to not approve something. But there's usually something in the code that would say, I don't like it because it's inconsistent with, in the Planning Commission, it's Nevada City architecture. At the Public Arts Commission level, there's things that speak to the council's direction, as a policy direction as to what art might be or might not be. So that's all I have for you on that. At each meeting, we'll start building capacity and knowledge with all of you of how these things will work, and I anticipate that you will teach us as well. So we'll build that body of knowledge together on what this group's gonna work on. And that is all I have on item number 2, Madam Mayor.
Is that all?
Unless Lisa
That's
wants to
good.
say something.
Lisa, anything? Awesome. Thank you for that. I saw some sighs of relief back here when you said, we don't expect you to memorize this or to recount this. Yeah, the agenda and packets are broken down really nicely in bite-sized pieces to be able to digest and understand what is being asked. Yeah, thank you for that. All right, item number 3, we're going to move right along. Consideration of the status of pending public arts projects by the 49er Rotary Public Art Competition. Sean, what have you got about that?
Nothing, it's time to go home. So this has been in front of the Vibrancy Committee a couple of times, and we have folks with us tonight if you want to come up, Stephanie and John Paul. And so the Nevada City 49er Breakfast Rotary has this idea to do a public art competition, and you all would be reviewing eventually the submission of the art, but you'd be doing it in advance because it's a competition that you would sit as the jury for. So there's a process, we can make it work. This is not a fully fledged it's not a fully vetted out program yet. So they're here tonight to ask for your input on various pieces because, for example, it's going to be a physical art piece, and the dimension and the cost might be something that I wouldn't know, but maybe some of you might have input on. So if you read the staff report that's in there, it basically outlines that. But I will let them come up to the microphone here at the mayor says podium, so I'll go with that, but it's a lectern. You stand on a podium, you stand at a lectern.
Thanks, Smarty Pants.
Yeah.
I will continue to call it a podium.
I always call it a podium. My kids correct me on that all the time. Welcome, and if you want to share with the commission your thoughts, and then after they present, opportunity for all of you to answer their questions, ask more questions. Generally, before you kind of get into your deliberation phase, you would seek public comment from the room and online. So that's kind of the normal thing. That doesn't mean you can't take it out of order sometimes, especially at the permission of the chair. But I'll hand it over to our guests.
Thank you.
Welcome.
So we're standing at the microphone with the box underneath?
Yes. Zach, you got it.
And that says that art always has different perspectives and ideas as people look at it. I think I wanted to frame it that way. When we saw that Nevada City was going to create a public arts commission, we thought, what a great way for Rotary to submit and help this process move forward. Rotary has done these kinds of things during its 120-year history. And around the world, in many cases, Rotary would build gazebos in communities early on, in public parks and things like that. So one thing we thought was, the other part that often people don't know about Rotary International is that Rotary is about peace in the world. And Rotary was instrumental at the United Nations in forming it, and now is doing a lot of work in the concept of positive peace, which is not the absence of war, it's all these other things. And there's kind of 8 tenets that make up what makes a peaceful community. And so that's, how we want to see moving this forward. So the idea was to, Rotary has 5 avenues of service. One of those is vocational. And vocational recognizes the value of all vocation in our society. And of course, creating art is a vocation. So this would follow under our avenue of service that is vocational as well. So you have some framework for that. We saw the theme as positive peace. We haven't really written out what that would mean. We want to see that in reference to Nevada City proper. So we would want some help from those of you on the commission in formulating that. And we would want to do a competition, again, because we value vocation. So there would probably be remuneration for the people submitting proposals as opposed to fees that they would pay us. So we would reverse that whole concept because we would value the work that was put into those things, the concepts, in order for us to go forward. And then, of course, we would raise the funds through Rotary. We look at other state grant applications to do that. We can get grant funding beyond the local Rotary clubs from our district to do something like this. So this scale could be, pretty decent. So that's kind of the premise of it. We don't have a process exactly in place of how we would run this, but my guess is it's going to take at least 1.5 years to go through this. It's not going to be a quick process. Stephanie, do you want to add anything?
Need to get this microphone in the right spot now, don't I? Well, John pretty much said it. I would also, underscore the importance of the Arts Commission in assisting us. We don't really have criteria at all determined at this point. The only thing that we have kind of settled on internally at Rotary is that we think of this physical art piece as being not in the historic district. Actually, we know that in the historic district, art is temporary, so we would really love to work with the planning department as well to determine the scope, specifications, and a potential location for this particular art piece. That's the only other thing I think that we should add kind of upfront right now. We talked a lot both inside our Rotary Club as well as with the Vibrancy Committee about possibly temporary art and then moving it to its permanent location. And we just kind of decided that it's more straightforward. This is going to be a long enough process. It's more straightforward to just go to a permanent location, unless you all on the Arts Commission feel quite differently, and we're open to that. But that's our concept at this point.
Yeah, it seemed more onerous to put it temporarily someplace and then move it someplace later, especially if it was a 3D piece. So, and there might be some fragility involved with that and all kinds of things. So that's it. Any questions or comments?
So before we go to, thank you both. So we'll take public comment from the audience or online on this topic. And then if you guys want to just stick around, we'll. Any public comment online, Gabby?
If you'd like to speak on this topic, please raise your hand. There is not, Madam Mayor.
All right, and so we'll bring it back to the commission. So this sounds like, this This is in the early stages. 49er Rotary Club wants to fund a 3D art competition, looking at sort of a long-term sort of goal here, about a year and a half. That does seem like a long time to me. But I hear that you want to get it right. So bringing it back to the table, please feel free, commissioners, to jump in, ask questions, share thoughts, comments, concerns.
I have a question. I'm not sure if it's for Sean, probably. When you were giving your presentation earlier, you said that it would be public art on private property. Would this fall under, is there ever a case where it's public art on public property where they may be looking for a location outside the historical district that's public property?
This could be either. So I believe they're still looking for a site, and certainly, I can't offer public sites, but certainly this commission could have an opinion and share that opinion of public sites that might be worthy of such placement of art, and or help guide them to private sites that they might want to look at as well. So ultimately, this process will kind of work in reverse. You'll do everything on the back end, not knowing what the art piece is going to be. And then you'll be the judges, the jury of the competition to select the actual art that will go in, having already established everything on the back end. So all of that is available in the development of their process. Ultimately, if it was going to go on public property, the council would have to approve that. But I would say for the purposes of this commission, when you're giving input, thoughts, recommendations on something that isn't a, submission before you, throw it all out there. The worst is that it's just not the right thing or can't be done. So.
Sean, can you give some examples of public locations around town?
The city owns about a third of the city. No. So the city owns a fair amount of the historic downtown, which is, between 16 and 18 acres, not very big. But Robinson Plaza, all of the streets, the Chamber of Commerce building, Harmony Books, Fire Station number 2, Fire Station number 1, the cottage next to Fire Station number 2, which is Lee Goods, Good and Company Realty. Those could all have temporary public art, but they couldn't have permanent public art because it's not allowed in the ordinance. Outside of the historic district, just about every intersection that where you see a triangle-shaped piece of land, we call those slivers. Those are all city-owned properties. Pioneer Park is owned by the city. Penzance Park, anybody know where Penzance Park is? Besides Kathy, our staff. Penzance Park, we also have a Penzance room in this building, and the Pirates of Penzance was on stage at the Nevada Theater. That's not the real connection. Cornwall, UK, England, Penzance is our sister city. Penzance Park is Sacramento Street, across the street from the gas station. It's a little piece of property there that has nothing on it. There's no park amenities or anything, but it's pretty cool.
Lots of daffodil and
Yes,
hyacinth
there's been
and crocus
planted
bulbs.
bulbs in there, absolutely, that are beautiful. Callinan Park here in the historic district is also part of the historic district. The Clark Street lot, which is unpaved but visible from the highway, is owned by the city. The old airport is owned by the city. Any place that on Sacramento Street that goes down to the creek past TJ's Roadhouse that doesn't have a house on it, all of those lots are owned by the city. So there's a lot of places that are public. In addition to that, not owned by the city necessarily, but Tobiason Park. Anybody know where Tobiason Park is? That's behind the Rood Center. There's a softball field up there, bathroom built by the Rotary, thank you. And they had the field named after a board of supervisor, a former Rotarian. So that's public up there. There's a nice bit of a nice pond up there. If you haven't been up there behind the library, we own Hirschman's Pond and the surrounding areas. We own the environs, which is the area basically surrounding the wastewater treatment plant on the other side of the where the Tribute Trail comes out. And then we own Sugarloaf. So, and basically all the open space around you is somehow connected to the city. So lots of opportunity to think about, public space art, and then, you all know the town and where areas might be for private property art too.
Great to have a visual of that, like some sort of little asset map. Do it in Google so that all the commissioners could see the.
They could go to the cultural district map and
we
see
do.
all of those assets.
We could include it.
Excellent. Kathy, back to you.
I just had a couple more. I'm not trying to monopolize anything, but has the Lozier requirement terminated at this point where the Lozier Fountain is in Pioneer Park? Has it met its requirements so that it no longer has to be per se a fountain?
That I don't know.
Okay.
So we can find out.
Just wondering. And the other question I have, I think, is probably better to wait until we get to the part about the Brown Act.
All right.
Cool. I love that idea. I think it sounds really awesome. I like the idea of honoring people's work and making sure people are recognized for the time that they're putting in. I like the idea of doing like targeted outreach to populations who maybe don't necessarily engage with this type of process. And then my thoughts on the like temporary piece in the historic district, I totally get that it's annoying to move stuff. I will say, on the other hand, as we work to raise visibility of public art in Nevada City and also the work of this commission, there's a lot of value in having it maybe somewhere where it's going to be interacted with more prominently. On the other hand, I think it'd be really good to know from the council or city folks, like, strategically, what are some priority areas in Nevada City that you guys are hoping to like revitalize? Like, where do you want to bring attention to so that as the commission, we can be thinking about the vision?
Seven Hills.
Yeah.
And I would say, and everywhere, right? Like everywhere. There is a sort of vision of Seven Hills being revitalized, and this being a part of that being like an arts and cultural, like neighborhood district. And so, but yeah, I agree too with the visibility of being in town for a period of time and then sending it to go live in a more permanent spot.
Can I respond to that?
Yeah, it can definitely be a conversation. for
So initially, when we came forward, we had talked to the Miners Foundry, happened to be on the board, and we were going to position it there temporarily, right at the entrance, could be a prominent place in town to do that. We're still open to that possibility. I think, we also the art has to be created for its permanent place as well. So there's a double criteria that has to go on for that to happen. So yeah, that's where it got complicated, and Sean had, we had been talking with staff about that, and so yeah, we're open to both. I mean, I would love to say, yeah, let's put a temporary here to show example of how we're working with the commission and how things roll, and then have it move somewhere else if that can function. I think, right? Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
How long, what is temporary? Is that case by case, or is that? Oh, okay. Okay, okay.
Period in the entire historic district, or could it move to another location in the historic district for another 90 days?
The council can permit it up to 90 days in a location. So yes, they could permit serial movement if, so think of in just a concept, the Christmas tree in Robinson Plaza is a temporary art piece, right? So
The menorah.
you could have, in February, March, and April, you could have another temporary art piece in that same location. Wouldn't be a Christmas tree. Well, maybe it is a Christmas tree. I don't know. But that's the kind of, it comes up and it goes back down. That's all that's allowed in the historic district.
So maybe the art piece is permanently temporary, and it just moves around the historic district all year long. And that would be part of the criteria for.
Putting my Rotary budget hat on, guess who has to pay to move that? It's Rotary. So that's another consideration.
the moving of it is another consideration. I'm sorry, I took us kind of down a path that maybe I shouldn't have, but
It's real.
it's real. Well, I asked, though, about could it move to another temporary location? And only because we had discussed that as well, both with Sean and within our Rotary Club. So anyway, we just have to be mindful of what the public art piece ends up being and how to move it and where.
So I wanted to mention that the third person who's on our committee in our Rotary Club is Kevin Miller. Kevin Miller used to be the city manager of Foster City, and while he was there, they developed a public arts ordinance and started to install art. So it's great having him on our side of this to really help, to work with Sean and the staff as well to make this right. And we also want to be exemplary people running through this process, so when the next person comes through, you can reflect back on us. So that's our goal as well.
Great, thanks. Kathy, go ahead.
I was just going to say, playing games with what temporary is by moving it around somehow. Full disclosure, I'm a Rotarian with a different Rotary Club. I don't know anything about this project, but it seems to be contrary to what Rotary's principles are. So that's
It's a good caution. It's good caution.
Any other, thoughts, comments, questions?
What's your ideal timeline? Like, when do you imagine, like, in an ideal world, when would this be in place?
Well, I said a year and a half. I said a year and a half because it has to be, we have to put the rules out, we have to have the competition, we have to have it, judged, and the intent is to show all those pieces somewhere, the sketches that come to this, and then it has to be built. I mean, we want to rush this piece of art out, so does that seem?
Yeah, no. I'm
Eliza, can you speak into the microphone for folks at home?
Sorry, God, so sorry. I mean,
That's
not
all right.
God. But,
You're the worst. I'm just kidding.
So there are certain key, if you're thinking about doing at least one sort of temporary thing in the historic district, you might have it coincide with a month such as April, which is California Arts, Culture and Creativity Month. By resolution of the Board of Supervisors in perpetuity, it's also Nevada County Arts, Culture and Creativity Month. So it could be like, wow, what a splash to sort of celebrate it. We're always looking for things to hang on to that month so that we can celebrate them during April.
Let's do it. It's a
A
little
year
less
from
than a year and a
April.
half, but let's pull it off, right? Thank you, Eliza.
Good goal.
Great. Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
Could you talk about the pillars that the art piece is going to?
I have them right here. I've been looking at them.
That would be
They're
great, because I don't have one in front of me, and haven't
amazing.
exactly.
Want me to read them?
Yeah, that'd be great, Eliza.
So the 8 pillars of positive peace are well-functioning government, sound business environment, acceptance of the rights of others, good relations with neighbors, free flow of information, high levels of human capital, low levels of corruption, and equitable distribution of resources. How perfect.
Just that.
So just do that in an art piece.
Yeah.
We've got our specific, we've got some of our criteria.
Well, and we might be rolling back to the city council because Nevada City can become a city of peace. There is a whole process of doing this. Los Angeles and other cities have done this following this criteria, so maybe at some point in the future we'll request that, but we're not there yet. Art first.
All right.
Go ahead. If I could just make one more comment. Again, going back to the concept of the permanent site, I'm sorry, I'm not an artist. I'm not even close, so I get very practical.
Play the saxophone?
No. I tried my grandfather's organ and a recorder, and just failed at both. But anyway, to get back to just from a pragmatic point of view, your help in identifying a site or a few sites, and whether or not we should also, are we hearing a will that you would like it temporary and then once and then moved?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. All right. Well, we do need assistance, though, with a site. And so that's an early on issue. And if we're looking at a installation by, April of 2025, then that decision needs to get made.
Great. And Sean, can you talk a little bit about like next steps and how that looks for the commission in terms of weighing in on a site and having that discussion, particularly considering the Brown Act, which we'll get to later, and just what the next step for the commission will look like?
So a normal process would be they would come with, we want to do this, this is the jury, this is the criteria, this is the site. I shouldn't say normal process because we'll probably never get that. Which would be great for all of you because then you just take it, they present it, you say thumbs up, thumbs down, and it goes to the next steps. The problem with that is that there's no input from the community or this body on formulating it. So it's this, even though it'll be more work, it's going to yield a better product. So the way I would see it likely would be driven by them, what their asks are, what questions they need. If that's the concrete thing that they need, then likely we would bring back to you at your next meeting a map and pictures of the various public options for art, so that you could look at those and say, this might, give them input, and then also, give you an opportunity to discuss the private location. We can't offer somebody's private space, but we could certainly say, it can't be in this part of town, or it wouldn't fit here, or things like that, and then you could offer, you have business owners at the table, and there's opportunity there. So I would see that as next steps. If that's the concrete question they need answered, with that we could help facilitate that discussion and your input back to them to help answer that question.
Excellent. Great. Thank you. Anything else from the table? Yeah.
Yes.
I've been tracking your proposal and keeping up on emails, but obviously I haven't met with you yet.
Yeah.
I'm curious, so your process will be a competition?
Yes.
So you want to sort of vet out the project a bit and then sort of gather proposals from different artists?
Yes, yeah, so the idea here, we would have the conceptual part of it, which is what the overriding theme would be, and then location will, of course, be critical, that be included right from the get-go. So, we'll have to go through the process that Sean just talked about to pick the site, and then that would be included in the request for proposal. Does that make sense? And of course, we're going to be talking with you.
How often, I'm just curious, sort of because things roll out based on how often people get together and talk. Do you guys meet once a month or?
Once a week.
Weekly.
Yeah, we're pretty nimble.
Every Wednesday morning.
I think Lisa just invited herself.
Yeah, come on the meeting. Oh, great, we love you, actually, okay, great. Yeah, I'll send you an email and we'll get you over there. Okay,
And I
cool.
think we have another, I'm sorry, did I cut you off? No. You're good? Okay. Another question at the table?
Maybe this is jumping ahead, but am I hearing right that is the place going to inform the piece? Or, okay, because it's hard to know what chicken and egg, because to know where it goes, for me, I'm like, what's it gonna, how big is it? But it sounds like you want the location to inform the parameters of whatever this is gonna be.
My guess is when public art is being placed, that is a good thing for the artist to know, because art often responds to its environment. Kevin talks about a piece that they did in Foster City, and Foster City gets a lot of wind off the bay, and they had a young person holding a kite, and their hair was blowing a certain way, and somebody came up and said, "How long have you lived here?" And he said, "How long you did?" And he goes, "Do you know the wind never blows that way?" So I think that's an exaggerated version of that, but yes.
On your behalf, we do not want that happening.
Right, okay,
Great.
yeah, that's helpful.
All right. Thank you so much. Look forward to next steps.
Look forward to working with you.
In my
Great.
previous life, we built an art park. So that had physical art pieces and opportunities for performing art within the physical art space. And so don't limit yourself, that wasn't my idea, it was just my job to bring it to fruition, but so don't, when you think big, you can't fail in what you do here, unless you just don't, unless you have a project in front of you and you have to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down and you choose to just not give any thumbs. I've never known artists not to think creatively, but definitely wear your creative hats when you're in here would be my ask as the city manager, which they're my bosses, so if they say otherwise, go with that.
Sounds good to me.
Hey, Sean, can you get me a cookie?
I can.
Please pass them around. I don't want to take them home.
I just want to, let's take a 2-minute break. There is tea and water in the back for folks. If you'd like to help yourself, go to the bathroom and we'll convene, actually at 6:45.
6:45.
just wants to chat it up here. It's such a fun group.
It's the exact same vibe as our council meetings lately.
Hardly.
Incorrect.
Oh.
Hardly.
That's sarcasm. Oh.
I defer to you.
Right. It's true. It's true. All right. Welcome back, folks. Thank you, 49er Rotary. See you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Has everybody got drinks set? Kathy's amazing cookies.
So good.
Are they so good?
Good.
Glad you like them.
Back there now.
Where are they? Feel free to run back and grab one.
We didn't identify where bathrooms are or escape routes or the fact that you can walk out the door and go to McGee's if you need any kind of drink that.
Or you could pretty much sit by that back door and get stoned.
Also, I would just like to say the council before my council had a member that actively left and went to McGee's when recusing themselves from an item. Not too long ago. All right, moving right along, item number 4, consideration of a couple things. 1, scheduling of regular commission meetings, and 2, selection of a chair and vice chair for the commission. Sean, how's that gonna look?
I'm back again. So, the section of the municipal code that created this Public Arts Commission requires that you requires that the commission regularly schedule monthly meetings. So, the city council can always direct that. They don't currently do that for the planning commission or the public arts commission. So that leaves it to you to create your own schedule. You can have regular meetings and then move them if needed. You could also cancel them if there wasn't, a need for them. And you can also host special meetings for either a special purpose or because you canceled a meeting and the like. We have some blackout dates that we already have other meetings on. But you will have to, either at this meeting or your next meeting, pick a schedule. So if you were to follow what we did tonight, then you would be meeting on the first Wednesday of every month. Tonight we met at 5:30. Of course, you could change that as well. So basically just looking for your thoughts on that, your availability on that. If you can't make that decision tonight, then you could certainly make it at the next meeting. And then we would intend to, unless there was some significant reason not to, we would just schedule the next meeting being March 6th, I think is the first Wednesday. And then you could, by then, all have your calendars, kind of up to speed. Certainly, I could work with all of you if you said it's such an impossible thing to do, we'll do a doodle poll or something like that to make it work. I'll give it to all of you to just tell us about that.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Is there like a quorum thing, like if 2 of us are on a cruise, people can still get work done?
It depends if you're on a cruise together or not.
Oh, we're not.
So there's 7 of you, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. And so 4 makes a quorum. So you have to have 4 to hold a meeting. And the reasons for not being here are varied, and you also have the potential of recusals, which we'll talk about as well. So if you had 4 people, but one of them had to recuse, then you wouldn't be able to do business on that item for the recusal. So, there's opportunities to schedule around your vacations, and you're not, chained to this place. If you set a schedule and know that you can't be here for 1 or 2 of those meetings, then just let us know and we'll let the rest of the group know. And that may trigger, say, oh, there's 3 of us aren't going to be here for this meeting. Why don't we cancel that meeting and move it to the next month or move it to 2 weeks later as a special meeting? Those are always opportunities if you share that information with us, and we can share it with your colleagues.
Great. Any other questions, comments about specific dates? Any preferences? First Wednesday of the month, does that work for people? Does that generally not work for people?
Works for me.
And what about 5:30? Is that too early, just the right time?
Good time.
Wow, is it that easy? First Wednesday of the month at 5:30?
Unless that teenager comes in with a different idea.
Yeah.
Very possible.
Hey, if a teenager, I would really love to see that. Them come in and command the room and make it happen, that'd be,
No, that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Here's when we're doing it.
well then, motion second and a roll call vote.
Yeah, looking for a motion I'm looking for a motion to schedule a regular Public Arts Commission meetings on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 PM.
I will motion that we schedule commissioning meetings on the first Wednesday of each month at 5:30 PM.
Great, and looking for a second.
I'll second that.
Great, we have a motion and a second. Gabby, can we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Negrete? Aye. Commissioner Wilcox Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Harney? Aye. Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes.
Commissioner Tuda?
Aye.
And Commissioner Negrete?
She gets 2 votes tonight.
Oh, did you do 2? Who did I miss? I didn't clock off.
Excellent. And so the next one, so that's official. Well done.
Yes.
Wow. I hope, I'm not going to say I hope all your decision-making is that easy, because I think tension is really good for growth. Of course, not too much tension. All right, and so the second piece is selection of chair and vice chair for the commission. And of course, we can do this any way, shape, or form. If somebody feels, I would highly suggest that the chair be someone who maybe has a little bit of chair experience, and then the vice chair can be someone who, is looking to be the chair, but maybe doesn't have as much experience and can kind of be in that sort of role of looking to the chair as a mentor. Does anybody on the board have chair experience? So we've got here.
Well, you know I do,
Here.
but I'm not looking.
Okay.
I'm so happy to.
All right. Is anybody particularly interested in the role?
I'm interested and open for vice chair position. My experience as chair are Bitney School Board for the past 6 years, the Chamber of Commerce as vice president. So I have a lot of Brown Act recent experience, but my preference is always vice chair.
Let's give it to Kathy.
Great. Thanks, Celine. Thanks for offering yourself up for that. Kathy, thoughts? Preferences? I hear you have some experience.
I have a little experience, and I'm not volunteering, but I will do it if you want me to start out, and we can, how long is the chair for one?
So we'll rotate them on an annual basis. So in other words, the commission will every year be asked to appoint a chair and a vice chair. They could stay the same. They don't have to change. They don't rotate like the council does. That being said, if someone takes the chair and does it for 3 months and hands it to somebody else who says, I can do that, that's entirely up to the commission. And, you could change out at any time. It's what the best interest of the group is.
I'm open to it if you feel comfortable with me.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions, preferences, experience that people want to name?
Sounds like a super duo sitting over there.
All right. I'm looking for a motion and a second to appoint Kathy Wilcox Barnes as, to vote on Kathy as chair and Celine as vice chair. Looking for a motion?
I will make a motion that Kathy Wilcox, that we vote to appoint Kathy Wilcox Barnes as chair and Celine Negrete as vice chair of the Public Arts Commission.
Great. I'm looking for a second on that.
Solid motion.
I second it.
Great. Gabby, can we get a roll call vote, please?
We can. Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Schwartz?
Aye.
Commissioner Tuda?
Aye.
Commissioner Harney? Aye. Commissioner Wilcox Barnes?
I guess.
No.
No, it feels like I should
Commissioner
abstain.
Negrete?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Excellent. Wow. Well, we're just
Or 6-0.
breezing through, aren't we? Congratulations, Kathy and Celine. I feel like the commission's in good hands. All four of them. Great. So that's it on that item, yes? Correct. We are complete. And so we're going to move on to item number 5. Consideration of a presentation on the Ralph M. Brown Act and the role of the commission in compliance with open meeting requirements, the Political Reform Act, Government Code Section 1090, and AB 1234. Sean, take it away once more.
Gabby, can you share screen on the
can.
presentation?
Bear with me.
It comes from a lawyer, so don't blame it on me.
Where did we go with it?
So all of you will
See, why didn't it come up?
be subject to all of these rules now, and you'll be required to do training at certain intervals once every 2 years for most of them. You have to have the full training within your first year. That is not tonight. So we will schedule someone from the city attorney's office to do that with you in the first year that the Public Arts Commission is here. We'll probably look to do that at a special meeting where we could do, you know, a breakfast Saturday or a lunch Wednesday or a, you know, dinner Friday or whatever works for all of you.
Bear with
Combine
me, it went away.
that horrible, not horrible, combine that, that 2 hours of probably not so fun with maybe something else that will be fun at the same meeting, so as not to take away from your regular business. No, it's Sean Grayson. That's okay, Gabby.
We got it earlier, now it's gone.
No.
It's the one after that one, right?
Yes.
Okay.
No worries.
Okay, there it is. Now let me find
So it starts with the Brown Act. So the Brown Act, anybody know who was the governor when the Brown Act came into being?
I wonder.
Nope, it wasn't.
Dang, trick question.
Yeah. After he was the California governor, he went on to be,
Ronald Reagan.
no, he went on to be a Supreme Court justice. He's the author of Brown versus the Board of Education and some other really landmark civil rights items.
What's his name?
Warren.
Burger?
No, with the glasses.
Earl Warren?
No. First black Supreme Court justice.
No, not black.
All right, then, I don't know.
All right. I guess nobody knows then.
Oh, bummer.
So,
Wait a minute. Who is it?
nobody knew, so I guess we're just never gonna know.
Oh, that was so mean.
So the Brown Act is,
Who was it?
I don't know, Google it.
Right now?
And then after she Googles it, you'll find out that she created a public record by using her phone at a public meeting. So the Brown Act came into being because there was always laws in California that said public meetings have to be held in public. But nobody was following them. And famously, there was a series of articles written in San Francisco about the way they were doing business there. And the legislature got a hold of that and passed the
Okay.
Brown Act. So
Why is that not working? Oh. Okay, bear with me. There we
Mom's texting, I bet she knows the answer. Oh, no, she knew who I was trying to think of, which was Thurgood Marshall.
maybe it starts with Earl.
Said Earl Warren, but not him, huh?
And
Okay.
we switch.
It's not switching. How did that, hold
What?
on, are you pushing too?
just that
Because
one.
it went like 50 times. You're working.
I play
All right.
footsies with people.
Now everyone got their coffee and we're going. The Brown Act.
Kathy said Earl Warren.
Twice. She
Right.
said it twice.
She gets a free cookie. There's always something.
Good job, Kathy.
So here's what the most important part of the Brown Act. The work of the public should be done in public. That is what the whole legislation is about. And you are now on a Brown Act regulated commission. So it applies to legislative body. You're a legislative body. There's lots of things that are legislative bodies, that aren't legislative bodies. Doesn't matter because you are. We'll talk about quorums in a second, but we talked about it earlier. A quorum is anything that constitutes the majority of this body. For the commission, it's 4. For the council, it's 3, because there's only 5 city council members. Anytime you have a quorum, you are subject to the Brown Act. In other words, everything you do has to be done in public. So 2 of you can talk to each other all day long. Then you could bring a friend in from the commission, and you can talk to them all day long. But then if you text one of your colleagues and say, hey, you know what the other 3 of us just talked about? Now that quorum has met. It doesn't matter whether you're in this room or not, that quorum has met. And the intent of the law is that when that quorum meets, no matter what function it is, you know, by text, by email, by social media, that it be done in public. So that's that chain of communications. I'm not subject to the Brown Act, but I can easily create a Brown Act violation for you. So the easiest way I could do that is send you all an email, just on the to line, and then say, tell me your thoughts. And you all click reply to all. Now you've had communication amongst all 7 of you on something subject to the Brown Act. So that's why you are all BCC'd on emails. It's not always foolproof, but it's pretty good. But the best practice is to never respond to anything with reply all that involves this body. So just reply to the author. Technology. The Brown Act was written in a time when everything was by typewriter, you know? And so now we have instant, you know, anything. So an email, a text chain, any of those things amongst the body is a quorum of the body, is a meeting. City attorneys hate email, and mostly because we keep emails. So we can easily prove that you violated the Brown Act, right? Because we keep all of our emails. So it's just easier if you're dealing with the work of this body, just do it within the work of the body. Social media, a thumbs up on somebody's post that has to do with the work of the body, you know. My post, I'm Nevada City Manager on social media, and I post something about this meeting tonight and say, and I'm looking forward to bringing back the maps for where the 49er Rotary item might go at the next meeting. And then 4 of you give a smiley emoji or a poop emoji or whatever emoji to that, you've just created a quorum meeting. I didn't, but I kind of facilitated it. So for the council, it's a rule of 1. A council member cannot reply to, or do anything on another council member's social media. So because the whole city is subject to them, you are a little different because the subject matter of this body is public art. So anything that might come before this commission should be handled at the commission level. But, you know, my kid's doing soccer, or, you know, I don't think there should be a roundabout in this part of Grass Valley, or whatever the, you know, next thing is fair game. So again, if it has to do with something that's going to come in front of this commission, just easier just to keep it, you know, here at the commission.
If something was approved and the Public Arts Commission gave the full green light, and then it was going to go to the Planning Commission, would that be an appropriate time for them to post that they're excited, or is that inappropriate?
Oh, they can post that they're excited anytime. You just wouldn't be don't get 3 of your colleagues to give the thumbs up to it. In this case, it's always better to, stay on the clean side of things.
However, if the art piece goes up and then, Shannon goes on social media and wants to take a picture of it, let's say several of the colleagues like it, is that beyond, are we beyond Brown Act territory?
In theory, you're not, because it could come back. They could seek to modify it, or they could seek to move it, but in practicality, yes. I mean, so if the lawyer, and I believe our city attorney's watching, so I'm gonna say, yes, it's fully Brown Act. But I mean, there's some reasonableness to it. The teeth of this law have to do with depriving people of their rights to make public comment at or to understand the work of the body. So if you think about it in that context, right, and then, what right would you be taking away from somebody by saying this, we approve this art piece and it's really cool? That being said, it's always best to err on the side of caution.
What's the penalty for Brown Act violations?
Interesting question.
So the city has been sued related to Brown Act items. We've prevailed, but it can happen. People can sue. The district attorney can bring action. It is a felony to willfully deprive the public an opportunity. Those, to my knowledge, have never been prosecuted, much less convicted. That would be more along the lines of the mayor telling me to agendize a meeting and not let anybody in the building. That would be a willful, intentional act to deprive the public of their opportunity. So exceptions to what is a meeting. So we said a meeting is just a quorum of this group, so 4 or more, 3 or more council members. And it can happen by text, it could happen by email, it could happen in person. These are the exceptions. Individual contacts, so just you talking to somebody else, and they say, hey, Art, blah, blah, blah. And then that same person happens to talk to, 5 of you, that's okay. Now if you sought them out and said, I know you talked to my colleagues already, I want to hear what they had to say, obviously that wouldn't be okay, but individual conversations are not a Brown Act issue. Conferences are not a Brown Act issue, and that would include you going to, an arts commission activity, or one of our 22 times we close the downtown for a special event, including this coming Saturday for Mardi Gras. You're talking about this Mardi Gras is awesome, this is great, or it's horrible, whichever it is. That's not a Brown Act issue, even if all 7 of you are standing there and talking about Mardi Gras. Community meetings, also not, unless it's on the topic of the work of the board. Other legislative bodies, so you could all go to a city council meeting, you could all go to a board of supervisors meeting and sit next to each other, and you could all provide public comment, at those, and you could all talk about art. At those, but that is another body that has an agenda and public comment, and you're not taking away opportunities for people to deal with this commission. Standing committees, same thing. Basically, you could go. We have 7 standing committees. You could go to any of those committees and not worry about it. So if the vibrancy committee's meeting and the whole plan or the whole public arts commission shows up and talks about stuff, that's okay, because you're on the record at that standing committee meeting. And then social ceremonial events, when the chamber does their long table event, if you all show up and, say, this is beautiful and I wish we had an art painting hanging right there, and all of you say, I agree, that's not the work of the body.
What about on Saturday, the 2nd of March, when you, as city manager, Haven Caravelli as Grass Valley council member, Alison as county CEO, and Jen Calloway as Town of Truckee manager are all going to be speaking about public art together at our event. You're all invited. And we all show up. And that's okay, isn't it?
That is the social or ceremonial events, and it's also community meetings.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah. Now, if you all got together and talked about an
Secretly.
application that was pending and said, let's not allow a mural at the end of the Onyx, that would be a problem. For a variety of reasons. Virtual meetings, it's easy. Neither of the commissions do virtual meetings. So Public Arts nor Planning Commission do virtual meetings. So if you can't be here, you can't be here. You know, you can't be everywhere at the same time, so that will happen. Noticing requirements, so we publish, almost all of our meetings are Wednesdays and Thursdays. Now yours will be a Wednesday. We will publish the agenda on Friday before we go home on Friday. We have to do it 72 hours in advance, so we could do it over the weekend. And that's for regular meetings. If you call for a special meeting, we can post the agenda 24 hours in advance. We're obligated to provide public comment for items not on the agenda for all of your regular meetings and take public comment on all agenda items. A special meeting, if you said, oh, we need to have a meeting for this application that came in and we just really need to hear it this week, you could do that. We have to post it within 24 hours and we don't have to allow public comment for items not on the agenda for that. So if you don't see that on there, that's why.
Do you have to have justification for what? For a special meeting?
We don't. So it's for all intents and purposes, I can call for a meeting of any of our bodies, any of our Brown Act subject bodies at any time. And then the chair or the mayor in the case of the council could call for a meeting as well. So they could call for a meeting to wish somebody happy birthday. As long as we agendize it and post it, in a proper time, that's okay. Emergency meetings, you won't have any emergency meetings, so it's pretty easy. So if you're thinking, we need to have an emergency meeting, not gonna happen. But if you see the council do it, it would be something like, Snowmageddon or something like that, and they need to take some action. The mayor read our statement on public comments. So the law allows that we may briefly respond to questions or comments by the public. What the interpretation of briefly respond is thank you for your comments, Sean will be in touch with you, or Elisa will be in touch with you, or that's not Nevada City, that's Grass Valley, you might want to contact them, but nothing substantive towards their actual thing, because it wasn't agendized for the public to know that you were going to be talking about that. So that's why the public comment not on the agenda, you're kind of just going to listen to them and say thank you and move on. Even if it's the greatest idea ever, you could say, I think that's the greatest idea ever. Can we put that on our next agenda? That's fair, but not, let's talk about the greatest idea ever. You won't do subsequent need, you won't have emergency situations, you won't do subsequent need items at the council level. Subsequent need items would be something requires action of the council, but it came to our attention after we posted the agenda. We can, what's called, walk that onto the agenda with a vote of the council announcing what it is, present it, allow public comment on the item, but it's very narrow window there, because if I knew about it and just didn't get it on the agenda, I can't do it. It has to be, I posted on Friday, and Monday we found out that there's a grant that needs a resolution saying we can apply for it. Then I could roll that onto the agenda on Wednesday. And then holdover items, don't really worry about this. There is a way that we can take something from one agenda and take it to the next agenda, but we'll just always write it on there. So our agendas are pretty set on what they are. They're compliant with the Brown Act. They have descriptions of all the activities. They have the recommended action, like what we're going to ask you to do on them, and that will vary depending on what the things are. You're not responsible for the agenda or its compliance with the Brown Act, but the chair and the body is going to be responsible for making sure that you do offer public comment on all of your items and things like that. Speaking of public comment, regular meetings, I already said this, you have to have public comment for things not on the agenda. Special meetings, you don't. Our current process for public comment, it is informal. we read that statement, and then does anybody have public comment? And people will just walk up and they'll give you public comment, and no big deal. You do it on every item, they'll sit back down. The council has seen a large volume of public comment for the last 4 or 5 meetings. And so when we know that there's gonna be a large volume, we'll do speaker slips. So people will say, we can't compel them to give us their name. In fact, some people don't. They say, you know, they cite some government code or something like that. That's fine, as long as Gabby can read it and call them up to the podium, then they're fine. But that's the mechanism we do that. I would not anticipate you would have that. However, if you come across some really controversial piece of art, you might get a lot of people here. I would say that, you know, the mine deal for the Board of Supervisors was the biggest, most amount of public comment in recent history for them. School boards tend to have opportunities to piss off people. Art can also be very provocative. And so there may come a time when you're gonna have 100 people that wanna come and give public comment. We'll help you through that process with speaker cards, so. People can record the meeting. We're recording it, we're broadcasting it. You can record it, they can record it. You're in a public building. This is a limited public forum. The sidewalk outside a traditional public forum, we don't restrict people to be able to record, you know, out on the sidewalk or in this building, as long as it's during a meeting or normal business hours. We have a 3-minute time limit for public speakers. It counts down, they can see it, you can see it. It makes a funny noise at the end, and they say, thank you for your comment. Disorderly conduct. We publish it in on the wall. The laws have changed, but essentially, if someone's being disruptive, the chair can, and the mayor said earlier she had something on her agenda that was the warning for removal. That's just there so that it's right in front of whoever the chair is. If they're being disruptive, they get a warning. We say, excuse me, this is a warning that your behavior is disruptive and that failure to cease this behavior may result in your removal. Please adhere to the rules of decorum of this meeting that are posted on the walls on either side of you and at the lectern in front of you. You may continue with your public comments. So they got all boisterous and they left the microphone and it happens, right? Can they cuss? Yes. Absolutely, free speech. Can they say, I hate the city manager, I think he's doing a horrible job? Absolutely.
Can they say racist, sexist things?
Yes. Can they say Black Lives Matter? Yes. Can they say White Lives Matter? Yes. Can they say anything in between? Yes. Regardless of whether we think that is appropriate, they can say all of those things.
That's the First Amendment.
Yes. But they can't be disruptive. They have to follow the rules and the timing and where we tell them that they can speak. That's the time, place, and manner restrictions of this limited public forum. But they cannot threaten or be violent. So a warning is not required if they've demonstrated violent behavior. So we will just kick them out. So I hope that never happens at a Public Arts Commission meeting. But the easiest thing, if it ever were to, is there's a script for that too. But the easiest thing is just saying, you know, we can't have this person here anymore. We're going to take a break. And then everyone leaves the room. If the person that is being silly wants to stay in the room, that's fine. That's a police department problem. And they're on the other side of the wall.
When you say we will kick them out, who is we?
The chair will say that they can't be here, but that's why instead of actually kicking them out, you just say, we're going to take a break. And then you all leave, and then, you know, come back in when the person's not here anymore. Yeah, there's no sergeant at arms appointed here. That used to mean like you actually had firearms.
I imagine, Sean, that if we are expecting maybe a large crowd or there's something controversial, that an officer or two might be here.
Yes, yeah. So they know our schedule for these meetings. They're generally watching us on the cameras in the police department if they're not out for calls. If it's something of any consequence, then the chief of police or one of the officers will be here and dedicated to it, not just that might have to leave for calls. You heard us do roll call. You'll do a roll call for all of your votes. the council, sometimes you'll hear consent agenda and things like that. They will just do a voice vote. We're going to record all of your votes at the commission level because it's just easier that way. You don't have to know which one could be or can't be. One exception to that, the chair can end the meeting. So technically it takes a vote, but it's like, I'm going to end this meeting. No, didn't hear any objections. The meeting's over, right? So because what's the harm in that?
Is that right?
Is that right? The body can overrule the chair, though. Wouldn't that be awkward? Anything that we provide you, we have to provide the public. So I can't send you something saying, hey, next time we meet in a month, we're probably gonna, here's the update from 49er Rotary. They want to do X, Y, and Z. If I provide it to you, it has to be available to the public at the same time or in advance of that. But there's a way we do that. Lisa does it at the Planning Commission, and we may do it with you. If we have information that might be of value and not waiting for a month to get to you, we'll post it online as part of the normal agenda process, and we'll announce that this information is available to everybody. And then we'll send you an email, BCC to all of you, saying, go to this link where everybody can go and find this information about, 49ers news proposal or whatever the case may be. And if we get especially if we get an application for an art project that that's seeking approval, we'll post that as soon as possible and let you know in the same fashion that the Planning Commission does for certain types of projects where they put it up there for the Planning Commission to be able to see it and the public as well.
I have two questions about that. The first question is, like, if Eliza were to print out, cultural district maps and bring them to us, that would need to also be available to the public too. So we can't be distributing materials to one another.
Correct.
Okay. And if I'm like, check out this cool artist who's just moved here, look at their website, somehow that would.
In what part? So you can, at the end of this meeting, we're gonna have commissioner reports, and if it has to do with art, then that's where you would say that. And you don't have to provide that. If it has to do with something that's an action of the body, like we're talking about the location of the 49er Rotary art, and she brings a map, we have to make that available to the public at the same time that it becomes available to all of you. So the better way to do that would be, she provides it to me, I put it in the packet, then it's available for everybody.
Got it.
And then you secretly text me with the name of the new artist.
Yeah, I think at the end, the commissioner reports will want to hear that, right? What's new in your space of art, what's new in the other meetings you've gone to since the last commission meeting, what's the new band in town, anything like that. Not Izzy Twinsky, because he's not new. Went too far. That's a lot of words. Political Reform Act, conflict of interests. Public official has you're a public official, by the way, by definition. Has a prohibited conflict of interest and may not participate in making or in any way use or attempt to use his or her official position to influence a governmental decision when he or she knows or has reason to know he or she has a disqualifying financial interest. Holy cow. And I only read half of it. Here's the thing.
Here's the thing.
Financial interests, all right? So your personal finances of immediate family member, spouse, partner, dependent child, just consider anybody that lives in your house or that is on your tax return. You have a financial interest in them, meaning you can't vote on anything that has to do with that. So that one's easy, right? It's your husband, your wife, they own a business, and that business has an application before this commission. You can't hear it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Business entity with investment of $2,000 or more. So whether or not you own the business, if you have $2,000 worth of equity or something in the business, right? Which is pretty small amount of money. then if that business has an application before you or any action before you, you can't participate in it. Real property valued at $2,000 or more, which there's no real property under $2,000. But there was, I mean, you could buy a house for that when the Brown Act went into effect. Leases also, so we basically say if you live there, regardless of how you live there, if you own it, lease it, squatting on it, and it has to do with that property, then you have a financial interest in it. Sources of income of $500 or more in the past 12 months. Business entity as a director, officer, partner, trustee, employee, or management position. So several of you are on boards or work for companies or have a management position in that company. So if that company has business before this commission, you can't participate. A donor, intermediary, agent for a gift or gifts over $590 in the past 12 months. So if you happen to work for a nonprofit that's building a really cool new place up in Whispering Pines, why'd it have to be in Grass Valley?
Wasn't up to me.
And then you would know about donations, things like this. This is really focused on if you are soliciting donations for yourself and that person happens to apply in front of you. That's pretty unlikely, but if you were running for office and you got donations to your campaign, this is where that most commonly would come into play. So what do you do if there's a conflict? It's this.
Before you move on, Sean,
Yes.
just back for
Yep.
what you were talking about. Say, for instance, I'm looking, the person 2 doors down from the Onyx once comes before the committee, and it might add value to what's at the Onyx or take value away.
We will get to that. That is gonna
Okay.
be in the 500 or 1,000 foot rule.
Okay, sorry.
So, and there are exceptions to all of these, but for purposes of this commission, it's just easier to just take the ones on their face value. It's gonna be pretty rare that you're going to have to recuse yourself, and so when you do, it's just recuse yourself for that one action and, you know,
So,
be done with it.
For the arts, sorry, Eliza, what's your organization called again?
Nevada County Arts Council.
So if there was a project next door to her, would that apply?
No, because she doesn't have, she doesn't
Money in
own the
it.
building and it's not on,
So it would have to directly be related to that property for the income, for place of employment.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. And, but since it would be within 500 feet, we just recommend that you would recuse if the place next door was that. It's just easier. So, yes, ma'am.
So for example, because I work for the tribal nonprofit, if they brought forth some sort of public art thing, would I need to
Yep.
remove myself for that? Okay.
Yep, just for that one item.
Okay.
Just like Celine will, if the Onyx decides to have a mural and that application's before us, then she'll just recuse herself for that item.
Okay.
So it happens quite a bit at the planning commission level. Because we get a lot of business in the historic downtown and several of them have businesses in the historic downtown. And then they kind of tend to live close to each other. So we get into the 500,000 foot rule as well. So there's a whole bunch of rules. And so you can always come to me and I can always get you in touch with somebody from the city attorney's office if we need to dig into something as far as conflict. But the easiest path is just to say, I have a financial interest in it, or I live or work within proximity of it, so I'll just recuse myself.
Wouldn't that sort of put me at it? I would be recusing myself of everything in Seven Hills, the main part of Seven Hills district that comes before the commission?
You would be recusing yourself for everything, Searles to Zion on Argyle. But how many murals do you think are going to go in there?
Or other art.
I think one. Yeah. The only other place I could think of that would be in that arc for you is Daniel wants to put a statue back at elevation at some point. So you would recuse yourself on that one. So if there's a conflict, then before we get to any voting, discussion, or anything on the item, then you say, I need to recuse myself at the beginning of the meeting is the easiest. I need to recuse myself from item number 4. And that's just on the record. And then when we get to item number 4, you don't vote, you abstain from voting, and you step down from the dais and go sit in the audience. You don't have to leave the room. That's the cleanest. And if you feel like you wouldn't be able to not say anything, like you're like, then the speakers are on in between the 2 doors there. Go in there and you can listen, but you wouldn't be able to influence the meeting. It happens, like I said, it happens at the planning commission level, and they leave the room and go out, and it's just easier to do. And it does not happen very often at the council level.
I just want to confirm that it's a place of employment. Like Wendy Ermshire excuses herself in downtown because she owns a business.
It's financial interest, yeah.
But if you're working for somebody or employed by somebody,
Only if you are director, officer, partner, trustee, employee, or management position of the business.
okay, within proximity.
We'll get to that in a minute. The Government Code 1090 is just as long as the other one, but I can make it really short. 2 slides, I think. Public officials shall not be financially interested in any contract made by them in their official capacity or by any body or board of which they are members. So you can't vote on anything that would give a contract to you or your interests, right? So it's unlikely that would happen at commission levels, except for the fact that this commission might be the jury for, an art award or something like that. So, but you're gonna clearly know if you're applying as the artist for the, right? So so that's is the contract part is, I'm applying for the art piece and I sit here and present and say, I'm the best artist ever. And then I go on the other side and say, that's the best artist ever. We should all vote yes. That's kind of the only way that this one works for you. At the council level, they approve contracts with, anything over $25,000 goes to the council. So if they were to sit at the dais while something was being heard, didn't say something, didn't even vote on it, when the contract was going through and it was for their own company, then that's what they call a 1090 violation. And at the bottom of the screen there, you see it's a felony, and it has what the penalty is: removal from office. So this is not worth it. So voting to approve is a contract. So distance. If you own or lease or live in a location, then as a residence, and it's within 500 feet of a project before this body, it's presumed to be a conflict. If it's within 500 to 1,000 feet, it's presumed to be a conflict that's rebuttable. So in other words, we could dig into it, do an evaluation, and figure out if it really is a conflict or not. 500 is absolute, there is no out of it. 500 to 1,000, we're still gonna recommend that you just recuse. If it's only one of you, you just, move on. It's not gonna happen that often. But if necessarily, we could evaluate that and see through the city attorney's office if there was something there. Beyond 1,000, it's presumed that there is not a conflict. But if there is one that you know of, you had financial interest that whatever you owned the street, the intervening 2,000 feet of street. But otherwise, that's the distance for that. so if you live there, by any means, 1,000 feet. If you own the business or have control of the business, basically the same thing applies. If you work at Three Forks, right, as a busboy, why are you looking at me like that?
I was just thinking I could probably get that job.
And Heartwood wants to do an art project, which they can't do because it's in the historic district, then you don't have a conflict because you don't own Three Forks. You're not a manager of Three Forks. You don't control Three Forks. So that's where the difference between where you live and where you work comes in. But because Lisa asked about Eliza specifically, but it'd be hard to argue the executive director doesn't have control over the. So that's where we, if you know something's coming in front of you that is within physical proximity of where you live or where you work, it's just easier to recuse yourself. But you're always welcome to ask us.
So using your example, if Heartwood were to bring something in and I'm director of the Firehouse Museum, I would have to recuse myself.
You would come to us and say this, and then we'd do the evaluation and come back to you and tell you that you don't have to. Because the connections there are so unrelated, but that's a unique situation where the Historical Society is leasing a building from the city to provide a public benefit. It doesn't generate money, so it can't be a financial interest, and so that's where the exception, a whole bunch of exceptions would apply to that situation.
Okay.
So we could get you out of it at the same time. At the same time, if it was treats, you might just say, I just recuse on this one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I get my coffee there every day, and I don't want to say no to her bad project. I'm just kidding.
It's also if you own property, right? So
Yes.
500 feet around where you own property. I know Kathy, you probably own several properties in town. So even if you don't live there, if you own a property, you can use yourself for a project around there.
Probably nowhere close to where there's going to be any
Yeah. And
public art.
And you won't hear at the commission level public art on residential properties because it's not regulated. That's, most of you are gonna, unless Ken or Baker or Gary Kennel or something was on this commission, then
Yeah.
they might have to recuse themselves. But yes, good point. So that is the least fun that you should ever have on this commission, is this agenda item.
Promise?
I said should.
I'm really excited about the idea of you walking through all that with a teenager.
Yeah.
You know how that works? I was gonna say I'm gonna put the tape in the machine and play them the video, but they won't know what that means.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send them to YouTube.
But they have to be
Say,
in,
watch the first meeting.
they have to be in 20-second spurts, I learned today, if you're going to do
It'll
a
be
teenager with YouTube.
27 TikTok videos.
Can I?
Of course.
The question I was going to ask earlier that I said to defer, and maybe I heard you wrong, but the second thing that you said this commission would be doing is advising residents that possibly have. And how do we avoid, I guess each one could individually go, but how do you avoid violating the Brown Act in that situation if, one person goes and then the resident says, oh, I just talked to so-and-so from, and by the time the fourth one gets there to advise, or if you were just there to look or something, but that word advise somehow triggers in me that there's this possibility of violating the Brown Act.
So it's the body, not the individual commissioner, that holds those functions under the municipal code. So the advice part would come in, somebody says, calls Lisa and says, I'm thinking about doing this thing on my property, but I don't know any rules, I don't know, but I have this great idea in my head, something like that might come before you of, you know,
But as a body.
this person has this great idea, then it comes to you on an agenda. They share with you their great idea, all 7 of you. You
Okay.
give them information back and forth,
Okay,
not individual
I
commissioners.
misunderstood then when you were saying that, because I was getting this picture of some people coming to us and going, inviting us out to see, they want to put a Boeing 4747 as a piece of artwork, you know, the front yard. I don't know.
Because we shouldn't be flying it.
Sean?
Yes, ma'am.
So a clarification with the Brown Act, if there were 3 arts commissioners speaking to a city council person, that is not, right? The going above 3 just has to do within our body.
Correct.
And so 3 of us could have a conversation with Adam, for example, and that's not a violation.
Correct.
Okay,
But 3 of them can't talk to you.
Right.
Because they only have 5.
right. And.
Not together, anyways.
Or serially, they couldn't.
Right.
Danielle talks to you, and then you talk to Adam, and you're like, this is what Daniela said, and then you talk to Gary, and this is what Danielle and Gary, or Adam said, now Gary creates the Brown Act violation.
And also, so it's something that's probably important for people to remember, that during breaks, when you're getting up, going to get coffee, cookies, and it just so happens that 4 of us are standing around, that we need to be sure that our conversation doesn't come back to anything that's related to the Arts Commission.
That is always the best thing. Talk about the weather, talk about dogs, talk about your kids. Not
About
business,
cookies,
what have
talk
you.
about.
Cookies is always fair game.
Compliment the cookies.
Yeah.
And we're always here to help, and so is the city attorney's office, although it's pretty rare that these things come up. The intent, you know, is always the biggest thing, right? So will there come a time when you're like, I think I just created a Brown Act violation? Probably, you know, and that's okay. We'll just identify it and, you know, and move on, but there's ways to mitigate that too. And, you know.
There's also no Brown Act police. I'm just, you know, there's not like a body that's like, you know, looking for people
Yeah.
violating the Brown Act.
The biggest Brown Act police is our community, right?
Yeah, that's not to say
So-
there's not accountability, but
Yes.
just there's not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think you'll find much more of that than you will anything else of, you know, somebody is gonna, if we did it in secret, or we didn't agendize the meeting, and someone that has an interest in that didn't know about it until after you passed it, we're gonna hear about it. And then what are we gonna do? We're gonna say, we messed up. So the remedy is, what was done in secret is undone. And then we say, whoop, somehow we messed up, we didn't post the agenda, so we'll have another meeting and we'll hear it again with public comment, you know, in front of the public and do it right. That shouldn't happen, but in some other city, that might happen.
Gabby?
Questions on Brown Act, those things, you'll get another, like I said, you'll get a multi-hour training on the whole thing. And it's, usually the city attorneys that do it are pretty good, because they're,
I love what you say about there being no formal body, and at the same time, the community itself is painfully aware of any possible sort of conflicts of interest and, you know, breaches and things like that. I know that the Arts Council is known as a state-local partner between the County of Nevada and the State of California through California Arts Council. And I attend all the public meetings of California Arts Council, and I always get a sixth sense of when there may have been a breach between council members, just the way they communicate in meetings, and the kinds of outcomes that come down through policy recommendations. I think, you know, you get a good sense of it, but so.
so, and that's something that comes up a lot is our council is largely aligned since I've been here in their decision-making, and so you're like, oh, they must have talked to each other. They don't talk to each other. They get the agenda at the same time you get the agenda. But the things that are on our agenda, one, they know are coming because they're tied to our strategic plan, or they're tied to something that I've been working on. they're aligned in the policy, train that is going through Nevada City. So by the time it gets to them, I don't tell them to vote yes or no. That's, up to them. But, we should be bringing them the right information to make the right decision. And then the state legislature is not subject to the Brown Act.
And much of that stuff's coming out of the committees anyways.
Yes, and that, we have 7 committees that see this stuff, so 2 council members have already, heard this, and you'll hear that at council meetings where they say, we heard this at Fire Safety Advisory Committee or at the Vibrancy Committee, and the Vibrancy Committee recommends, so it's a good place for us to vet things out. Sorry.
Kathy has a question?
2 more questions real quick. First, Gabby, do we have to fill out Form 700s? Okay. And when we're doing the Brown Act training, will we also, I read in there that we need to do the ethics training. Will that happen at the same time, or are those 2 separate?
Yeah, we have to provide all the ones that have required training, we have to do, provide for you in the first year. So it will, that's why I said it'll be probably a summertime, half day or with a meal or a snack or something like that.
Okay.
Sean, in the ethics training, it's only the publicly elected officials who fall under the category of the social media part where you cannot block any community members, right, from your social media accounts if you're discussing any kind of, I know this has happened in the past, and where city council members had to unblock people. So like you can't remove comments if you're, the Board of Supervisors Facebook page, and you can't block people.
So I don't post anything anymore.
So, but with commissions, because we weren't
You're not
publicly
elected,
elected, we don't fall into that.
Block away. Block, remove, take away comments.
The caveat to that is it assumes that it's not a public, it's not either a government account or an account that you have set up representing yourself as a public arts commissioner, which one you can't do. It's not appropriate for you to do it, it'd be a violation of our internal policies. But yeah, if the city provided an Instagram page for the Public Arts Commission, then it would not be able to, block users or, restrict comments or things like that.
Good distinction. Any other thoughts, comments, questions?
I have a question about not this. From before that I wanted to ask. I was just curious if Truckee or Grass Valley or the county have a public arts body stood up right now.
So that's,
does.
so that's on a different agenda item, so we'd say that,
Sorry.
the ones that do have one have had the ethics training and the Brown Act training, and no, so it's just a question that's fair. Truckee has a public arts commission, slightly different in scope, and not ordained in their municipal code. In other words, there's not a law that creates them, it's the council, that created them. And they don't have the same authority under their public arts ordinance, but they are a functioning arts commission that has done quite a bit of work, and I believe so. Our planning commission is going to be partnering with Truckee's Planning Commission on a couple of things coming up in the spring and summer, and I would anticipate that our public arts commission will partner with their public arts commission to share ideas, to learn from each other, and to, lessons learned.
And their
Grass Valley.
commission's interesting in that it's different artists from different mediums represented across the commission.
And then a youth component and an education component. And it's quite sweet, Heather, who was here earlier, who introduced herself as our GVNC Cultural District Program Manager. In Truckee, our Truckee Cultural District Program Manager sits on that commission, so can also be quite a helpful resource to us. And it was actually our work with the town of Truckee that led to the creation of that commission. So, but you're right, they've gone around it in a sort of slightly odd way, sort of the plan and the commission before the law, before any policy in
when you have money, no, they do have a lot of money. And as a city, they don't do fire, parks, water, sewer. They don't have PG&E. What else don't they do? They do snow plows and finance, and yeah, good for them.
Yeah.
But lots we can learn from them, and they're also very gracious and their failures, you know, and lessons learned. So.
Yeah, Sean and I met with their city manager a few weeks ago now and talked about the potential for the two commissions coming together and just giving you guys an opportunity to learn from them and ask questions and see, you know, what their scope is and notice how things might be different and how you might want to align ours to look more like theirs or not. Yeah. So definitely opportunity there. All right, if I don't hear any other comments or questions, I'm going to move to commissioner and staff liaison reports. Is that good? Are we all good with moving on? Excellent. Thank you, Sean, for that training on the Brown Act. Very important stuff. So usually when we get to the end, we do reports. And that's when we ask whoever the staff liaison that is present to provide any report on current or future related activities, art-related activities, and then we will ask each commissioner if they have a verbal report on any commission-related work, including announcements of meetings, trainings, activities that you attended since the last meeting. If you're part of a stakeholder group and you are, you know, putting on the Mardi Gras parade and you want to remind folks that that's Saturday, or there might be a fundraising thing happening that you might want to name, or if there's a cool band that you want to say is going to be at the Nevada Theater, you know, next week. All of these things feel appropriate to share at this time. So do we have any report back from
What do you want to
staff?
share?
Well, you could share about the wonderful panel you're going to sit on in March.
I canceled it. We got nothing.
All right.
So and that's not very uncommon. You know, we'll share with you if we have things coming up, but we're not trying to take up your time. You know, despite what the mayor thinks, I don't get paid by the word. So yeah.
How do you know what I think? All right, so would love to hear if anyone has anything to add or promote or.
I will.
Great. Lean forward
What
and
am I
speak
doing
into
in
that
March?
microphone, Eliza.
Okay, speak into the megaphone. So Nevada County Arts Council is hosting a full-day professional development symposium. It's our 3rd annual symposium for artists and cultural workers and culture bearers on Saturday, the 2nd of March at Sierra College in partnership with Sierra College. We're offering all students come free, but it's for artists across all disciplines and at every point in their career. So it's a full day of sessions, but one of them is going to be an amazing session on public art from the perspective of our county executive, Allison. Sean will be there for the City of Nevada City. Yes, you will. And
The
Jen,
business of art.
The business of art. And this is just, but we also have sort of special interest sessions. So this is going to be great. It's basically all our municipal and local government, county leaders speaking about the role of public art. And come and put them all on the spot and cheer them on at the same time. Like Sean's been doing such an incredible job for Nevada City. We may also have this facilitated by an amazing, sort of incredible guy called Mark Salinas. He doesn't know it yet, who's a sort of public art guru who's currently working with the City of Davis on public art. Anyway, it's going to be great. It's going to be in the afternoon, that particular session on Saturday the 2nd. It would be great if you came.
Thanks, Eliza.
March 2nd?
March 2nd. So yeah, we'll have Jen Calloway. She'll be there from Truckee. She's cool. And Haven will represent the city of Grass Valley because, you know, she's done so much work with Grass Valley, and then Alison and Sean, so everyone.
Anything else from the table?
Yeah. So the Nevada City Rancheria Tribe is currently seeking to purchase a piece of property, the old Woolman School, and they have a homeland return campaign going on right now to raise the funds to purchase this 200-plus acre property. And you can find out more on their social media at California Heritage Indigenous Research Project on Facebook, nisenan.org, chirpca.org. Yeah, please join in this. This is a really, really powerful moment for the land back movement for the local tribes. So let's all get behind that.
Awesome. Thanks, Mara. Anything else? All right. I am looking for a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting.
I move that we adjourn.
And a second?
I second that.
Great. And here we will ask for just a verbal vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank
There
you
you
all
go.
so much for hanging in there.
Non-official business, cookies or no at the next meeting.
Yes.